John thought he had it figured out. 11 years of saving and absolutely no shortcuts. Then, at 9:47 on a Tuesday morning, his phone showed $100,014. He stood in his kitchen and stared at a number he had chased for over a decade. He felt something he hadn't expected. Not pride, not relief, a strange, restless itch to act. That itch has a price tag. For most people, it costs 6 figures by retirement. Here's what nobody tells you about the first $100,000 you ever save. The most dangerous moment isn't the climb. It's the 90 days right after you arrive. 41.4% of Americans cash out their retirement accounts when they change jobs. And nearly 90% of those people drain the account all the way down to zero. Within 90 days, John almost destroyed his $100,000. Not once, 3 times. The money survived, but only because he learned 5 traps most people never see coming. This is the hidden math of the $100,000 moment and how people destroy it. Fidelity studied 25 million retirement accounts and found a pattern that should worry you. The average balance between 35 and 39 is just $81,600. The average American finally crosses 6 figures between 40 and 44 years old. So if you ever get there, at any age, you're holding something statistically rare. And yet the moment you arrive is exactly when your own brain turns against you. Psychologists call it arousal spending. We'll call it the itch. It has a shelf life. Suddenly, everyone has an idea for your money, your friends, your family, your feed. Some ideas arrive wearing a smile and a name tag. Those are the expensive ones. Charlie Munger said the first 100 grand is the hardest, and everything after it gets easier. He was right about the math. He never mentioned the ambush waiting at the top. Because at $100,000, your money starts earning $583 monthly on its own. Destroy the balance, and you don't just lose dollars. You fire an employee who worked free. Most people never run that math. So they trade a compounding machine for a shinier truck. And the people selling the trade know exactly which day of your life to show up. People like Carla survive this window every time. By the end, you'll know exactly how. In the next few minutes, you'll see all 5 traps with real dollar numbers attached. Stay for the 5th trap because it looks exactly like good advice. Here's what the data shows. Meet John properly. 52 years old, a logistics manager earning $68,000 a year. No inheritance, no lucky stock picks, no side hustle empire, just a paycheck and a plan. At 41, John had exactly $4,000 saved and a bad feeling about retirement. So he started moving $700 a month into a plain index fund. Automatically. Every month for 11 years. Through 2 crashes, 1 pandemic, and dozens of scary headlines. The market dropped 20% twice in that stretch. He didn't sell a single share. His secret wasn't intelligence. It was that he treated investing like a utility bill. Run the numbers. 700 monthly at 7% reaches 100,000 in roughly 9 years. John took 11 because he started smaller and raised the amount as his salary grew. That's normal. The first 100,000 is slow for everyone. That is the entire point. Now meet Carla, John's co-worker in operations. 32 years old, sharp, and quietly wealthy. Carla started investing at 22, straight out of college. $400 every single month. She crossed 100,000 at 30. Today she's sitting at 118,000. And when she hit the milestone, she did something almost nobody does. Absolutely nothing at all. Coworkers begged for her secret constantly. She'd shrug and say boring index funds since 22. Her first entries were tiny. $400 a month on an entry-level salary took real sacrifice. Picture her at 22, noodles for dinner, $400 invested, and zero idea how right she was. Those years taught her the skill nobody posts about, walking past the window without stopping. Remember that. Carla's boring non-decision will matter enormously by the end of this video. It was Carla, years ago, who first told John to automate the $700. Then there's Diana, 34, marketing coordinator, responsible with every bill, never missed a single payment. 4 years ago, Diana changed jobs with $38,000 sitting in her old 401k. Her last day at the old job felt like freedom. The expensive part came the following week. The rollover paperwork looked confusing. The cash out button looked simple. She clicked the simple thing. Taxes took 22%. Penalties took 10 more. $38,000 became $25,840. The teller wasn't a villain. She processed the form exactly as Diana asked. Systems obey clicks. The money scattered fast. A television, a trip, a loan to a cousin. Normal life. Left alone until 65, that $38,000 would have grown to $405,000. Diana went back a week later to ask about undoing it. Some buttons only press once. One confusing form, one simple button, a $400,000 difference. Almost nobody runs that math. Finally, meet Maya. 28, careful, diligent, with $60,000 in a high-yield savings account. Maya isn't reckless. She's the opposite. She's so afraid of losing money that she refuses to invest. Friends pitched her stocks for years. Maya always smiled, nodded, and kept everything in savings. Maya once listed every reason to avoid investing. The honest list held one word: scared. Her account pays 3.8%. It feels safe. The math says something colder. We'll come back to Maya because her version of safety quietly costs $250,000. 4 people. Similar paychecks, similar zip codes, 4 completely different relationships with the same milestone. John reached it and felt an itch. Carla reached it and felt nothing whatsoever. Diana never reached it because a single afternoon at a bank counter erased her head start. And Maya may never reach it because inflation eats her interest while she sleeps peacefully. Among households that actively track their money, the median balance in their 30s is under $99,000. So the $100,000 line is real. Half of diligent savers never cross it. John drove home that Tuesday in his 2009 Corolla with 210,000 miles. And at a red light, he looked left, straight into a row of gleaming new trucks. Hold that image. That red light is where most $100,000 stories quietly begin to die. Most people believe the milestone is a finish line. The data says it's the starting gun. Because everything you'll see next only works if the snowball stays on the hill. So before the traps, run the numbers with me. The milestone isn't psychological, it's mathematical. Here's what nobody tells you about compound interest. The first 100,000 is the entire war. At $700 a month and 7%, your first 100,000 takes roughly 9 years. Your second 100,000 takes 5.3 years. The third takes just 3.9. The fourth takes 3.1 years. The fifth arrives in just 2.5. Look at that curve again. Each block of 100,000 arrives faster than the last. The climb from 500,000 to a full million takes about 8.5 years. Read that twice. Your last 500,000 can arrive faster than your first 100 did. Why? Because at 100,000, your money earns about $583 every month. That's a silent employee, working nights, weekends, and holidays, never once asking you for a raise. Ask Carla. Her account now earns more some months than her first job paid her. Soon after comes the crossover point, where your money deposits more each year than you do. Most people quit before the crossover. They push 11 years, then leave before the machine turns on. One more number. A single dollar at 7% becomes $7.61 in 30 years. So when you destroy $10,000 at this stage, you're not losing $10,000. You're losing 76,100 future dollars. That's the exchange rate nobody prints on receipts. Picture a snowball cresting a hill. Below 100,000 you push. Above it, you steer. Munger put it bluntly decades ago. The first 100,000 is the hard part. He wasn't exaggerating. Keep that exchange rate in mind. The 5 traps are about to use it against John. Trap number 1, the upgrade. It arrived exactly 9 days after John's Tuesday morning screenshot. John's old Corolla needed a new clutch and 2 engine mounts. The estimate said $1,900. And standing in that repair shop, John heard a voice in his head say 5 dangerous words. You can afford it now. That sentence has destroyed more milestones than any market crash ever has. The next morning, a salesman met John at the dealership door with coffee and a handshake. He walked John straight past the sedans to a $48,000 truck with heated everything. $712 a month, he smiled. You work hard. You deserve this one. Notice the script. He never mentioned the price. He mentioned John's effort. That's not accidental. Salespeople train for milestone buyers. People flush with savings who finally feel entitled to a reward. John sat in the truck. It smelled like victory. Then his phone buzzed. Carla. 3 words on the screen. Run the numbers. So sitting in the parking lot, John did. She called him 30 seconds later. Asked the salesman what the truck costs in retirement years. $48,000 invested at 7% for 30 years becomes $365,000. The same truck 30 years out? Nearly worthless. Within 10 years, it fetches $19,000. So the real sticker price wasn't $48,000. It was a $365,000 retirement. $712 a month is also precisely John's entire investing habit, plus $12. That's how upgrades kill milestones. Not with one purchase, but by hijacking the monthly engine underneath. Understand? The salesman plays this game daily. You play it maybe twice a decade. Prepare accordingly. Here's the rule. Never feed a depreciating upgrade with compounding money. Wants come from income. John paid $1,900 to fix the Corolla. The salesman kept the free coffee. The salesman moved on within minutes. There's always another milestone buyer walking through that door. 3 weeks later, the same salesman gave the same speech beside the same truck. To Tyler. The Corolla runs fine now. John named her Betty. Betty has no heated seats. Betty compounds. Every month the truck doesn't exist. John's plan funds itself with $12 left over. Trap 1 survived. Barely. The next one didn't come from a stranger. It came from paperwork. Trap number 2, the cash out. This is the trap that already caught Diana. That same month, a rival firm offered John a new role and a $9,000 raise. He took it. Great decision. Then Human Resources mailed him a form about his old account. 2 checkboxes. Roll the money over or cash it all out with a check next week. Researchers followed 162,000 employees leaving jobs at 28 American companies. 41.4% hit the cash out button on their way out the door. Diana raised her hand when she heard that number. She was one of the 41%. And of those who did, nearly 90% drained the account completely. Every single dollar. People call it a fresh start. The tax code calls it a feast. Remember Diana's $38,000? Taxes and penalties carved it to $25,840. Worse, she gave up what that money would become, $405,000 by 65. Diana's rebuilding now, $300 a month. But she's buying back years she already paid for. Diana now mails a 1-page explainer to every friend who changes jobs. Nobody laughs at it. She tells the story freely now. Her exact words? Read the boring form, twice. Small accounts are seeds, not snacks. Diana didn't lose $38,000. She lost the tree. Every small account you protect today is a tree your 65-year-old self gets shade under. A 10% penalty, plus income tax, plus decades of lost compounding. That's the full bill. John stared at the same 2 boxes Diana once faced. The check would be $68,000. He called the new plan instead and asked for a direct rollover. 20 minutes, 0 taxes. Retirement money moves account to account, never through your checking. A check in your name is bait. Changing jobs this year? 1 sentence protects you. Direct rollover, trustee to trustee, please. Trap 2 survived. Then the market itself decided it was John's turn for a test. Trap number 3, the safety trap. It wears a disguise, and the disguise is prudence. 6 weeks after John's milestone, the market dropped 8% in 11 trading days. John watched $8,200 evaporate. A year of saving, gone in 10 days. At 2 in the morning, he typed a search. Should I move my investments to cash? Millions type that exact sentence at the exact bottom of every dip. Here's what actually happens. Maya never types it because Maya already lives there. $60,000 all in savings. Her account pays 3.8%. Inflation takes about 3. Her real return rounds to 0. $100,000 at savings rates becomes $254,000 in 25 years. The same money at market rates becomes $542,000. Safety costs $288,000. So cash isn't safe. Cash is slow motion loss with excellent customer service. For years, Maya carried the financial version of this. All shelter, no sunshine. Caution overdosed. The fix is a fence, not a bunker. 6 months of expenses saved. Everything else stays invested. The market's best days historically cluster right beside its worst ones. Flee the storm, miss the sunrise. One headline that week asked, is this the big one? It wasn't. It almost never is. John closed the laptop without selling a single share and went back to bed. By autumn, the dip had fully recovered, plus 4% on top for the patient. Trap 3 survived by doing nothing. Sometimes discipline looks exactly like sleep. It was Carla's napkin sketch that finally moved her. 2 lines, 25 years, 1 regret. Maya watched that recovery too. In September, she opened her first index fund, Small Steps. Her first red day rattled her badly. She reread Carla's napkin, breathed, and held on. The 2 women compare scars now. Diana's cost $12,000. Maya's cost time. Both compound. Trap number 4, the hot tip. This one arrived wearing a hoodie and holding a phone. John's friend Tyler cornered him at a barbecue. This coin did 40x last year. 40. Tyler wasn't lying. It really did. He just left out when he personally bought it. Tyler's plan for the gains was already picked out. The car existed only as his wallpaper. By the time a moonshot reaches a barbecue, early money is already looking for the exits. Say John moves $30,000 into the coin, and it drops 80%, a common outcome. He'd be left with $6,000. Recovering an 80% loss requires a 400% gain. Most people understand the drop. Nobody internalizes the climb back. Losses punch harder than gains. Tyler leaned in with the classic line, "It's still early. You have to get in now." Urgency is the fingerprint of every bad financial decision. Good investments still exist on Thursday. One portfolio owns everything and sleeps. The other owns one story and checks its phone hourly. Notice, nobody ever whispers hot tips about index funds. Boring doesn't sell. It just quietly retires people. John told Tyler he'd pass. He kept his boring index fund, all 7,000 companies of it. Tyler's coin? Down 71% by Christmas. He doesn't bring it up at barbecues anymore. Tyler pitched Carla once. Once. Her eyebrow has its own risk disclosure now. If you must gamble, cap it at 5% of the portfolio and call it entertainment. Trap 4 survived. The fifth trap was smarter than the others. It had a business card. Trap number 5, the 1% handshake. The trap that looks exactly like good advice. At $100,000, John's name landed on a marketing list. An advisor called within weeks. He bought John lunch. Nice guy, firm handshake. His fee? Just 1% yearly. The warmth was rehearsed. The percentage was rehearsed. Even the firm handshake had a script. 1%. Sounds like a tip. Here's what nobody tells you about that little number. The fee skims your whole balance every year, shaving 7% growth down to 6. Over 25 years, John's 100,000 plus contributions grows to 1.14 million. With the 1% fee, the same road ends at $931,000, $208,000. That friendly lunch was almost the most expensive meal of John's life. Somewhere there should be a receipt. Steak, $40. Wine, $60. Handshake, $208,000. Here's why it works. The fee never arrives as a bill. It's deducted invisibly, inside the account. When John hesitated, the advisor pivoted to a whole life insurance package. Higher commissions live there. That pivot is the tell. Advice that changes when you resist isn't advice. It's inventory. His firm calls people at exactly 100,000 because smaller percentages don't pay for steakhouses. Watch his eyes as John leaves. He isn't sad. The list refills itself every single week. His steadier clients never ask what the percentage costs. The pudding green stays beautifully funded. To be fair, some advisors earn every penny. Estate planning, taxes, complex equity, real work. The problem is the billing model, charging yearly rent on money you already earned. Higher flat fee fiduciaries. John's index fund charges 0.03%. The handshake wanted 33 times more. John thanked him for the lunch and declined. The advisor never called back. Funny how that works. Trap 5 survived. 5 traps, 90 days, $0 destroyed. Then his father came to dinner. Son, you've got $100,000 just sitting there. Throw it at the mortgage. Be free. That's not a scam. It's the boomer playbook. And in your father's era, it worked. Dad remembers 1981 when mortgage rates crossed 18%. Grandpa burned his paperwork celebrating. Dad paid off his own house in 1997. It remains his proudest financial memory. Killing a double-digit mortgage early was brilliant then. The math has completely flipped since. John's mortgage sits at 3%. His investments average 7%. That gap is the whole answer. $60,000 invested for 20 years becomes $232,000. Against the mortgage, $108,000. Same $60,000, 2 different jobs. One job earns a $123,000 difference. Now, if your debt charges 7% or more, flip the advice. Kill that debt first. John showed Dad the napkin math. Dad grumbled, then toasted him with sweet tea anyway. John compromised. 1 extra mortgage payment a year for Dad's peace. The rest keeps compounding. On one thing, father and son agreed instantly. Betty was and remains a genius financial decision. Every generation's money advice is a fossil of its interest rates. Carbon date it before following it. So what should you actually do the moment you hit 100,000? 6 boring things. 1. Institute a 90-day rule. No major money decision inside the danger window. None. 2. Fence off 6 months of expenses in high-yield savings. That's your storm shelter, nothing more. 3. Fill every tax advantage bucket first. Employer match, then IRA, then the rest. 4. Keep the automation that got you here and raise it with every single raise. 5. Stay in diversified low-cost index funds. Own everything. Pay almost nothing. Touch nothing. 6. Give the money a written job description. Retirement at 65. Nothing else may apply. Notice what's missing. No trucks, no coins, no handshakes, no heroics. Boring is the strategy. That's the entire playbook. It fits on an index card and beats most professionals over time. Steal this list. Screenshot it. 6 lines, 3 hours, and the trap season simply passes you by. John did all 6 in one Saturday morning. 3 hours total. Total cost, $0. Then he went back to his life, which is the entire secret. The plan runs. You live. One caveat. If you carry debt above 7%, clear that first. Then run this sequence. Now the twist. After 5 traps, you'd think the enemy of your milestone is obvious. Salesmen, advisors, hot tips, crashes, villains with faces, but every trap shares one ingredient. Your itch to do something. Every trap only works if you open the door. The market didn't almost destroy John's $100,000. John almost did. 4 separate times. And here's the sentence that reframes everything. Write it somewhere you will see it. The market has recovered from every crash in history. It has never recovered a dollar you spent. Crashes are temporary. Cash outs, trucks, fees, and panic sells are permanent. That's the entire asymmetry. Which brings us back to Carla, the woman who hit 100,000 and did nothing. 2 years later, her nothing is worth 118,000. She never once checked the dip. On her current path, Carla crosses 1 million in her early 50s, from 400 monthly. Her superpower isn't stock picking. It's that she is fundamentally unbothered. Boredom, weaponized. And remember the crossover. Past 100,000, the account becomes the family breadwinner. By the second 100,000, the market contributes more each year than your paycheck does. Your job flips from growing the money to guarding the machine that grows the money. Somewhere past this milestone, you hand the heavy lifting to the market. Your shift ends. 1 year after that Tuesday, John's balance reads $121,400. He never touched the principal. Betty is still running. The automation went up to 900. Dad checks John's balance sometimes at Sunday dinner. He grumbles less every single month. Carla says his second 100,000 takes about 5 years. The math says she's right. Carla's toast that afternoon was 4 words long. To boring, forever. Cheers. Diana's rebuild crossed 19,000 this spring. Maya's index fund just had its first boring birthday. Payday transfers became a tiny office ceremony. Carla supervises. Diana presses. The button obeys. Different starts, same physics. The snowball doesn't care who pushes. It only cares that pushing continues. Maya's first year returned $412. Small, she admits. But it worked while she slept. Maya thanked John for one sentence. Cash is a slow leak wearing a life jacket. Diana teaches her niece the seed rule now. Nobody in that family snacks on seeds anymore. 4 people, 1 lesson. The milestone tests your patience for roughly 90 days. Pass, and gravity helps. If your account just crossed 6 figures, congratulations. Now put your hands in your pockets. And if you're still climbing toward it, you just watch the map of what's waiting. Munger was right. The first 100,000 is brutally hard. Protecting it, though? A choice. 90 days of restraint, traded for 30 years of momentum. That's the entire transaction here. That's the hidden math of your first 100,000. The rest is mostly patience. Every dollar you defend today becomes $7.61 defending you at retirement. Before you go, 3 things worth doing in the next 5 minutes. None involve buying anything. First, find where your old retirement accounts actually live. Forgotten accounts become cash-out accidents. Second, look up the expense ratio on whatever you own. Near 1%? Ask hard questions. Third, automate one transfer, even $25. The habit outranks the amount every time. And if a milestone lands this year, remember the 90-day rule. Let the itch die quietly. None of this is deprivation. John still travels. Carla owns nice shoes. The engine gets paid first. John, Carla, Diana, and Maya aren't real people. Their math every dollar absolutely is. The studies are real. The fees are real. The trucks are extremely real and everywhere. Most people will scroll away and buy the truck anyway. Watching this far suggests you won't. Somewhere, 2 friends just paused this video to check an old account. Be those friends. If this video showed you something happening with your money, subscribe to Wealth POV right now. And hit the bell. We break down the hidden math behind the financial decisions you face every day. Your first 100,000 took years. Destroying it takes 1 afternoon. Guard it accordingly.